Ahmad Fardid and his theory of violence. That's what we're tracking here. And we already have been talking a lot about his philosophy and his affiliations to Martin Heidegger's philosophy and his misunderstandings as well. And we should complete today our series on Ahmad Fardid, but we want to know first, how does these theories of Ahmad Fardid, his theories of violence, apply today? Can we see them today in today's policies of regime in Iran, for example?
Hello and good morning. Maybe it's difficult to make an or unbelievable to make an link between the Fardid's theory of violence and the violences in the Middle East nowadays we can see, but it's real. And the link is the linking ring is actually the students of Fardid, the Fardid students, that they have inscribed the violence in all fields that it was possible for them. Sorry, I mean that in the few sessions before, I explained about 2 or 3 philosophers that try to make characteristics of the Fardid in the philosophy of Iran, but in other fields of science also the students of Fardid try to do, and actually they made an new modernizing thinking in Iran, separated from the usual modernizing thinking as before, and it's very strange. Actually, the principles of Fardid's thinking was different from the principle of modernizing. In his thinking, for example, Jean-Paul Sartre or Popper both were blamed because of their loyalty to freedom and to humanism. Especially, he blames Jean-Paul Sartre and he names Jean-Paul Sartre thinking as founded theory. He means that in place of God, Jean-Paul Sartre has placed the human in the center of all things. So the human is based on foundation of the world, of the thinking, in place of God. And then he asks that how we can improve, how we can make things better without any God in between, in the center of thinking. Also, he blames very seriously the Karl Popper, because of his idea of freedom and open thinking, and actually he wrote 2 letters to Khomeini then, and said that I am criticized of both Popper and Jean-Paul Sartre, and you have to stop stop the teaching of their philosophy in Iranian universities. Based on his thinking, there were a big and huge so-called culture revolution happened and conducted by his students in Iranian university. All university in Iran was closed for more than 3 years, and they tried to change all the contents of the universities, and course codes, all of them were changed. Later, they tried also to change even the exact sciences, not just the human science and the social science, but also the exact sciences like physics and also mathematics, according to ideas of the Fardid. Of course, some of his students later became his criticizer, but anyhow, his ideas was generalized in universities of Iran, and as if that all the universities, all the students graduated from the universities, the element of violence was I mean, characterized in their education. So they thought that we have to be an ever war with the West. We have also to wait for an apocalyptic event, and we have to make us ready. And actually, one of the branches of this idea was about the fighting with the Jews, with the Jewish people, and with the Israel by itself. And they instructed as if that the humanism is an I mean that thinking based on humanism is an enemy of the humanity, and the civilization based on humanism is an enemy of humanity, and Israel is an agent of the humanism and civilization based on humanism in the Middle East, among the Muslim countries, among the people who believe the God, but they have planted an human-based school of thought in the Middle East that should be uprooted. And that's why that all the macro policies in Iran was arranged based on this, I mean, that align with this goal. Actually, I can name, for example, one of them was Mr. Shahram Pazuki, and he was one of the instructors of professors in the Imam Sadiq Al-Mustafa University. And Al-Mustafa University is a university made in Qom we can compare it with the Patrice Lumumba University in Moscow. They train the needed, administration and also military high-ranking officers for the Quds force and for the foreign forces that worked for the IRGC. For example, all the commandos of the, for example, Fatimiyun or Zainabiyun, you know maybe, or your audiences, I assume that they know these forces that are composed from the Afghans Shiitan or for example Pakistani Shiitan. The head and the high-ranking commandos of these forces are educated and graduated in Al-Mustafa universities, and for this the Al-Mustafa University is already sanctioned by both European Union and United States Treasury because of its terrorist activities. In such university, for example, Mr. Shahram Pazuki, one of the students of Mr. Fardid, is an instructor, is a professor, and he has very bold role in suppressing the Sufis, because as you know, the Sufis in Iran are against the war. They are very friendly and they are peaceful people. They are peaceful. They have already provided a peaceful version of religion of Islam, and this is apparently in contradiction and in contrast with the violence version of Islam.
So how does Mr. Pazuki do that?
Mr. Pazuki tried to, because with you know that the head of the that the master of the Sufism in Iran, one of the biggest of them was Mr. Dr. Nur Ali Tabande. He was also an jurist and a man of law, but also he was a master. And the IRGC tried to manipulate the leadership, to change the master and to take the dynasty. The order of the Gonabadi, because the Gonabadi Sufis are one of the oldest and biggest one in Iran, with more than 1,000 years from before. but Mr. Pazouki was actually the engineer of the project, which tried to capt the dynasty. I mean that the Gonabadi order, but they had also they wanted to do it so that also they can to keep the followers. And it was very important to them that they had to do it very carefully so that there no violence and no physical action. But eventually, because of the resistance of the Dr. Nur Ali Tabande, such violence eventually and ultimately has been happened. First, they tried to make Dr. Tabande to resign and said that you are too old and you have to resign and and let us to make another master for this order. But Dr. Tabande resisted and said that no, whenever I am alive, I will. I have to educate, and I have to control the order of the Gonabadi. Eventually, they try to arrest him, but the dervishes, the Sufis, was gathered on the street against his home, and then eventually they attack to the home and put Mr. Dr. Tabande under arrest, and they made a council, a governmental council under control of the Shahram Pazouki, Dr. Pazouki, to make another Sufism, state Sufism.
What is the goal of having this state Sufism?
Apparently, they have realized that the Sufism has a very big capacity, very big possibilities, because you know that between the Sufi networks and the Sufi orders, there is no border. All the Sufi thoughts, all the Sufi schools believe on the same goals, peaceful and love, but just the teaching, I mean that the method of teaching is a little bit different. We can, as an example, we can see, for example, the universities. You know that the principles of the universities, I mean, around the world, across the world, is almost the same, but the method of achieving the goal maybe is different. But for example, if you are in university in Iran, you can go to another university, for example. I assume that is so. The Sufi orders is also so. So if you can capt one of the Sufi network, then you have capped all the Sufis, because then you can generalize your idea to another orders. And based on one study was done in a university in Tunis, in a Tunisian university. I think the name of university is as Zaytun. They have realized that they have explored that from each two Muslims, one of them is somehow connected to the Sufism and to the Sufi school of thoughts. That's why if you can control the Sufi networks, actually you can control the half of population of the Muslims across the world.
So it's something similar like they do with Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and another Shiite militias, just in another field. They try to win people of the Sufi networks for their goals. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely. But I think that with broader goals, because the Hezbollah and, for example, the Hamas, they have just one. I mean that one goal to make violence against Israel, for example, but. The Sufis network around the world, across the world, can help the Islamic Republic to to exercise its supervision and its control over the Muslims communities in the Western societies. It means that if they convince that the Islamic Republic is also a Sufi-oriented regime, then they can make influence among these communities and among these the Muslims. So because we know that not all of the Muslims they follow the violence. Most of the Muslims are really peaceful people, and just they have to have the possibility to do their practices and rituals, and they have no problem with the societies that they are residing there. But these people should be convinced and should be somehow be on the Quran of the radicalization, and then step by step they can make them radicalized, and eventually they can be an channel, they can be a possibility for influence, for infiltration. We know that nowadays, each day is more, the Muslims can influence in the high-ranking layers of policy making and decision making. And for example, in United Kingdom, there are two high-ranking officers that they are Muslims. Politicians and officers both, and in this way the Islamic Republic tries to hold and keep its connections with them, and anyhow we can use them, need immediately, but we can use them
in the long run.
Yes,
long-term plan.
Yes, if necessary. Anyhow, the Al-Mustafa University is a terrorist organization because it educates the terrorists to act terrorist actions or to support terrorist actions. And the Mr. Pozoki is linking that was also an students of Mr. Fardid is linking who with the ideas of the Mr. Fardid has exercised the supervision and the control of the Islamic Republic of Iran over the state, over the Sufism, and made an state Sufism in contrast and against the real Sufism that in Iran is. Another fact that we have to pay attention is that if they make a battle, for example, in Middle East against Israel, they need also as a big support. There is a formula that against each soldier who fights in, for example, in a battle, there is more than 15 people in the backside, back-end office to support them. And from these, fighting in Middle East for Hamas or for Hezbollah or for the other violence, they need backing in other countries. And we know that, we see that now, and we know that two big countries, two big population support them. And this population actually are arranged, are managed by the students of Mr. Fardid, that they are delegated now by the Islamic Republic to destination countries to mobilize this. Not just in the society. What see on the street is just an external manifestation, but there
are you talking about the students in the US, for example, who are influenced by regime goons?
This is one of very touchable examples, but not limited to them, of course. There are a big army, I mean that army of delegations from Islamic Republic in the newspapers, in the medias across the world. A big army of them in the layers of decision making, in universities. Too much of the Fardid's students now they are in the universities around the world, and they try to make an support, and I mean that and mental support and sympathetic support in public opinion in Western public opinion. So we see that step by step, the idea of violence is generalized and institutionalized in the Western countries as well, and this is the very dangerous dimensions of the Fardid thinkings.
Wonderful. For our last 2 minutes, I would like to ask you, what kind of recommendations do you have for Western policymakers to counter this danger, this risk?
First of all, they had to recognize, I mean that to diagnose. So in the stage of diagnose, in the phase of diagnosis, they have to recognize really the problem. Just they have to compare the past and now. For example, around the world, we see that based on these ideas, the terrorism is combined as and integrated with the crimes, and actually they have take the last and final actions and urgently, and they have to terminate this situation as soon as possible by all means. And eventually, as I have pointed out before, they have to make to form coalitions. You saw that the Islamic Republic has attacked to Israel directly by launching the missiles. This should be taken very seriously, and make an global coalition like they made against the Libya, or they formed against the Saddam Hussein, and then eventually they have to terminate the situation as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sajedi. Now, no one can say that these things are not known, and we have warned the West of a really huge danger for whole humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.